Happy Friday. Welcome in here to the College Basketball Tip-Off Show powered by WagerTalk.com. Not exactly the biggest of slates here in college hoops. It is exam time, of course, holiday vacation coming up in campuses around the country. But there are a couple of stragglers left behind who've got to play some basketball here tonight. And speaking of stragglers, we welcome in the A-team here to the College Basketball Tip-Off Show on Wager Talk with Adam Trigger, who specializes in straggler basketball teams here, as well as his partner in crime there, BP, Brian Power. And trying to bring some legitimacy to all of this is Double R1L Steve Merrill in the house, as he is already half in the bag here on a drink till you drop Friday with these games. My goodness. Gentlemen, welcome in here. Again, not the who's who of college hoops, but it's always been my experience that these are exactly the kind of slate of games in which you'd be able to find some value, since the public has no idea who the hell any of these teams are and if they're any good or not. So, Trig, we're going to start with you, and you are going to kick us off with just a total household name here of Stonehill, taking on Ryder, my man. So break it down for it's a pretty big number. I think it was a 9, 10, somewhere in that ballpark for Ryder laying it. What are you going to do with this one here?
Well, Joe, no, you really can find value. And I know, Joe, you were out of the office yesterday, but me, BP, and Steve were here doing a Thursday show. And there were so few games yesterday that I actually talked about this one on yesterday's show when Ryder was minus 7.5 or minus 8. I said it would probably get bet up. Sure enough, it did. Few minutes before the show, it was all the way up to 11. So I'm going to give the viewers that watched yesterday a couple options. But also, if you didn't, I'll talk about like ways that you could potentially jump in with Ryder. So let's talk about Ryder first. That was my handicap yesterday. I said I would lay the 7.5 or the 8, and I still agree with that being the handicap. But if you miss the good number, I don't love coming out and getting the worst of it and laying 11. So what I might do is look at the first half and know that you could play like a half unit on the first half, and if it doesn't work out, you can come over the top with a second half bet and still probably get closer to what the number originally was. So just real quick, I'll rehash my recap of yesterday. I just think Ryder is a huge advantage in the front court here. They're a top 30 rebounding team, where Stonehill doesn't really contest shots, struggles to rebound. And Ryder, they have a 7-game losing streak, but the teams they've played, they were an underdog in all of those road games. Couple tough MAC games. Like this is a far easier matchup, and it's a reason that I think Ryder can not only come out and win big, but they could also come out hot and maybe get an early lead, which is why I would look at the first half. Now, if you have the 7.5 or 8, I don't hate the idea. If you just kind of decide, because that's kind of how I looked at it. I liked Ryder at the open. I didn't have enough to get me there for a client play, and now you're seeing 11. So if you do have that 7.5 or 8, I don't hate taking the 11 with Stonehill and just saying, whatever, I'll get off, and I've got a 3-point chance to middle. But what I would want to see, and again, it's tough to get info on this, but the thing with Stonehill and the other part of the handicap was the sort of random injuries that have occurred with this team. The fact that Shane Odell's only played in 5 games all year, and you kind of never know when he's going to be in or he's going to be out. The fact that Jackson Bignini didn't play last game. He's their leading scorer, and he was out for the game against Stony Brook. Somewhat unknown that he wasn't going to play. So, what I would do if I had, if for the people that had the good number from yesterday, turn the game on. Try to get the broadcast on 10 minutes before, or follow Stonehill on Twitter and see if they post their starting lineup. And if Bignini and Odell are in there, then maybe it's a good spot to, just grab the points with Stonehill if you already have the good number and play for the 3-point middle. If they're out, maybe add more to the Ryder first half, because that's, part of the reason I was so willing to lay points with Ryder in the first place, other than the fact that I do think it's a good matchup for them. And I do think they're going to be quite motivated to get a win and win big, was that Stonehill might be without guys because they really have been all season. So just a couple of alternate ways. I mean, listen, I'm also not going to, if you watched the show yesterday, you got in overnight and you're sitting there with Ryder -7.5 or Ryder -8, I'm fine with riding that out too. Really, when it comes down to it, they should be the far better team, and they should be motivated to win this one and win big. But that's just it's a light board tonight, Joe. So we're starting to dig deeper into some of the different angles, and there's a couple of ways you can go with Stonehill Rider.
Well, it's also a school of thought is that I would imagine the public is not running to the window to bet Stonehill or Rider. So this kind of big movement from 24 hours ago would lead me to believe they're probably not playing Trig. Is that probably a pretty good assumption?
So Joe, it's really we talked about this off air. Brian and I kind of joke about this all the time. With you just never know with some of these teams. I mean, the reporting on this stuff is non-existent. Sometimes sometimes you'll see something bet one way and then it won't actually happen. Like, I'll give you a great example. A couple weeks ago, Stonehill had a game where the line crashed like 4 points. I want to say it was maybe against Sacred Heart. I'll forget the exact game, but the point is the line crashed as if guys were going to be back, and then they never were back, and it moved like 4 points in the favor of Stonehill. Came down from like 13 to like 9 or 8.5, and it's funny, like the middle actually occurred there. Stonehill it middled. It landed like, oh, it was Quinnipiac. It was the Quinnipiac game, Joe. It landed like 11, but that's exactly what happened. So honestly, I won't. All you can do is try to read the tea leaves here. I think that they're probably going to continue to be out. I know Odell's a kid that went to my high school, and I kind of like have followed this team closely because of them. He's had a nagging injury since the beginning of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he's out. And then, Bignini just went out the last game. So again, could have a couple of games there, but without those two, I got to expect Ryder wins this one going away.
All right, there we go. Game one here on a loaded slate here tonight. It may be the most exciting game of the evening. Brian Power is going to tackle here. But before you hit the snooze button here, though, let me just remind you, if you could quickly, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you are new here to WagerTalk TV. Oh, it gets much better than this, I promise you, though. And we've got plenty of content heading into a huge NFL Week 14, great NBA slate now that this ridiculous in-season tournament is coming to an end. So plenty of opportunities for you guys to make it a very profitable weekend. Hit that subscribe button. And if you're joining us live during this broadcast, God bless you all. Brian Power, what is going on here, my man? You have chosen maybe the best game of all games here on the card. Maybe simply because there's going to be some points in this one, I think. But North Carolina A&T taking on Highpoint. One team is 7-3. One team is 0-7. I'll let you take it from there and explain which is which.
Yeah, so laugh if all you want, but I think this is the most intriguing matchup of the day because you've got the winless North Carolina A&T team, 0-7 straight up, going up against a Highpoint team that has covered the spread in every game, Joe. They're 8-0 ATS. Let's start with North Carolina A&T, though, because it has been quite ugly so far to start the season. They've yet to stay within 15 of anyone this season. That's not good, obviously. Their largest lead in any game, 6 points. That was 17-11 against Samford, a game they'd eventually lose by 18 and give up over 100 points. So very ugly. They took their lumps at places like Pitt. They lost by 48. They lost by 39 at Virginia. Last time out, they were 7-point dogs at home against the Citadel. Those who follow this sport know if you're getting 7 at home against the Citadel, you're a really bad basketball team, okay? And it goes from bad to worse in that game. They allowed 55% shooting to North Carolina A&T, including 53% from three, again, against the Citadel. And defense has been the issue for A&T, Joe. They are dead last in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency per Ken Palm. They're also the second worst team overall in the Ken Palm ratings. So it's just been an ugly start for North Carolina A&T. Now let's talk about Highpoint for a minute. I mentioned earlier, undefeated against the spread. That's exclusive company. The only other two teams in the country that have yet to lose a game against the number, BYU and Arizona. Those teams, obviously two of the very best in the country. Highpoint, unlike those two, they've been an underdog in a fair amount of games. Obviously, BYU's been favored in every game. I believe Arizona was a dog once. In fact, though, Highpoint, double-digit favorite, just the second time this season tonight. They did cover the previous time, but that was only minus 12.5. The spread for this game is minus 20. Highpoint had its largest margin of victory last time out, at least against a D1 opponent. They beat Western Carolina 97-71 as a 1.5 point home dog, ironically enough. But I don't want any part of this spread. You can't back North Carolina A&T given how putrid they've been. Highpoint maybe due to slip up at the betting window. But you said something, Joe, that I completely agree with. You can expect points in this game. I already went through how bad defensively North Carolina A&T is. They've given up at least 80 in every game. And the issue is they're playing fast. They're 37th in adjusted tempo. That's not going to work well here against a team that can put the ball in the basket. But Highpoint, they're not exactly stalwarts at the defensive end either. They're outside the top 300 in defensive efficiency. So I would play the over here. I don't know why the numbers come down. I mean, again, going back to our previous discussion about Stonehill and Ryder, is it probably some sharp money on a game like this that's bet the total down? Yeah, it probably is. But I'm going to respectfully disagree. You can get this number as low as 158. There should be points aplenty in North Carolina A&T Highpoint. Former conference rivals, by the way.
So let me ask there, Brian, because I have to, as I'm look, was that a misprint? Did I just see a 15-1 all sports run for you right now? Like what's going on here with this 15-1 run, man? You're crushing it.
Yes, I am, Joe. Thank you. That I knew I had to
enough.
get some
Good
positive.
Talk. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't a typo there. Just asking, wanted to make sure it wasn't a typo. 15-1 is out of control, though, under any circumstances, anywhere. 15-1 is disgusting, but congratulations, you and your clients.
Undefeated in North America, Joe. In North America,
yes.
There's no one. It's still
North
unbeaten.
America.
The one loss was in the Premier League, which our good friend Kelly Stewart absolutely buried me via text for ruining my unbeaten streak on soccer last night. But bounced back with the Patriots, even though Bill Belichick tried giving that game away last night. I have never seen more gutless second half play call. I know this is a college basketball show, but were they trying to lose? I don't have. Where's my football? They were saying, "Please, Pittsburgh, please take this game from us." And thankfully, the Steelers' voodoo did not come through at least once.
But you won, right? So again, 15-1. Okay, stay away from Juventus here this afternoon. Let's talk Steve Merrill, if we can, for just 1 second. I don't want you betting on that and then ruin it for the rest of us. Merrill, what is going on here, my man? You have chosen FDU. Sorry, my bad. Fairleigh Dickinson University, yes, taking on Manhattan, I believe, is going to be your choice. New look FDU or same old from the Cinderella team we saw a year ago?
Yeah, this is a fun game to talk about because FDU made that Cinderella run. And by the way, a lot of people are hot at WagerTalk. Brian's on that red hot run. I'm 18-5 the last couple of weeks, all sports. So it's not a bad time to check out the $199 rest of year special. Multiple cappers, no promo code needed. Load up, stuff your stockings a little early and pay for the holidays with that $199 special right now. 18-5 all sports run for myself, Steve Merrill. And this is a game I'm going to give you a big game breakdown. We'll have a free play as well. I do have an NBA best bet tonight, but I wanted to talk about a couple college games because even though it's a small card, I think there is some value. And this one's fun to talk about. FDU was the Cinderella team last year, only the second number 16 seed ever to knock off a number one. Head coach jolted afterwards, as is often the case. His assistant, Mike Castleberry, takes over, though. Castleberry was actually Siena's women's assistant coach about 10 years ago, and Adam Trigger was strolling the sidelines there at Siena University. Ooh. And this is a team that's got some guys back from last year, but are also missing some key pieces, and they do look like a weaker team this year. And keep in mind, when St. Peter's, as a 15 seed, made that run a couple of seasons ago, they came back a lot weaker last year. So I do think FDU could be a fade team at times this year, and that's actually been the case so far this season. They just snapped a 4-game losing streak with the win against New Jersey Tech, and there are very few teams that are worse than FDU right now or Manhattan, but New Jersey Institute of Technology is one of the 10 worst teams in all of college basketball, about 360 teams. So not going to read too much into that. And the thing about FDU is they play fast. They have to play up tempo. And Manhattan will play that way tonight as well. So instead of looking at the side here, by the way, we saw some money coming in FDU. Manhattan went from a 2.5-point favorite to pick them now. I don't necessarily agree with that move, but I also don't know if I want the Jaspers here. So let's look at the total. I think the over is the way to play this game. over the 152.5, as it should be an up-tempo fast game. And yes, both teams statistically are not good offensively. They don't shoot the ball well, but that's exactly why you have to play fast, because you don't want to get bogged down in a half-court game. And it's funny, FDU just played a Fordham team that likes to play fast. You look, and they only had 52 points, but they gave up 80 in that game. And the only reason they had 52 is because they only shot 32% and had 24 turnovers. Manhattan does not force turnovers like that. And I think this will be a back-and-forth game with a lot of offense, very little defense. FDU definitely not a Cinderella team this year, but we can still make some money in their games. I think there's some money to be made with the over 152.5 tonight between Manhattan and Fairleigh Dickinson at 7 p.m. Eastern on the extra board.
All right, the Jaspers taking on the Knights here. Good look there. Again, only 9 games in total here on the card tonight, but we do have 3 best bets coming up for you. But don't forget, take the advice here. All 3 of these guys have been absolutely crushing it, not just in college basketball either. So take advantage of that end-of-year deal right now, $199. Go to Adam's page, go to Merrill's page, go to Brian Power's page, get every play. That's an all-access package, every play, every sport now through the end of the year, December 31st, and partner up with them for just $199. That's a great opportunity to go ahead and pay off those holiday bills that will inevitably be coming your way. All right, back to the top here, and Trig, who has just put in 3 more tickets on Ryder, from what I understand, from the last time we talked to him. So let us look at a best bet here, Trig, whereas not a lot of other spots on the card you can go here. So what's the other game that you like a little more than the rest?
Yeah, Joe, I mean, there's only 9 games tonight. I got a 5% play that's going to be one of them, and I talked about Ryder, which is another. So we're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel a little bit, but I do have opinions on both of these teams, and there's only one way I would play this game, and that's Boston College minus the points. Now, listen, I'm not dying to lay 20 with Boston College, but like this matchup, they should win this game by like at least 20, maybe 30. Like they could really run it up here if they want to. So I went to a game earlier this week. It was St. Bonaventure at Niagara, and I underestimated how big of an advantage St. Bonaventure had on the interior. And, there was other things that led me to Niagara. St. Bonaventure won the game by 40. And the reason they were able to just do whatever they wanted in that game was they went inside. They kept going inside. They shot close to 70% because everything was near the rim, and Niagara had no answer. And that's very much what I see happening to Holy Cross here. If you don't know who Quentin Post is yet, you should. He's one of the best big men in the ACC. He's going to do whatever he wants, in my opinion, in this game. He averages 20 points a game, 8.3 boards. And listen, this is a Holy Cross team that is just very small. It's a work in progress. Dave Paulson's there in his first year. Dave Paulson is a guy that, had those good Bucknell teams over a decade ago. They think that he can, sort of rebuild this team in the Patriot League, but he's starting with, bare minimum here. And the Patriot League sort of frowns on the transfer portal. They all sort of just don't use it. So he's going to build through recruiting and developing talent. And, this year he's got some guards. Joe Octave's the guy that transferred from Air Force. He's a great player, 15.9 points per game. But outside of a couple good guards, this roster is very much lacking, and they're also lacking in any sort of size. The biggest guy is 6'6", and they're just, they are not going to be able to hang around in games where a team has a post player like Quentin Post that can do what he's able to do. If you look at teams that Holy Cross has played that had superior size, Winthrop comes to mind. They won 89-51. And St. John's, they have a pretty good front court. They have size, and they won 91-45. So, that's where I see the advantage here for Boston College. And I just think that they could, you never know in these types of games if they're going to take their foot off the gas. But this is a spot where I think BC, they're at home. I think they're going to play for 40 minutes here. And if they do, it's likely at least 20. Wouldn't be surprised if the final margin approaches 30. So Boston College minus 21, the next best thing I see on Friday Night Sport.
All right. BC, it is laid to 3 touchdowns here. Holy Cross, there's levels to this, and there's just not a level that Holy Cross is going to be able to be on here to compete in this matchup, which means we've got time for another best bet here, and we are going to take it over, BP, I think, to, well, this is an interesting combination. We got an Ivy League versus a service academy here, laying double digits, I believe, Ivy League. Harvard taking on Army. So what gives in this matchup? How are you looking at this one?
Yeah, Army versus Harvard will be the best bet for the show today. But first, we joke around a lot on the program, obviously, but no joking. 15-1, all sports run here over the last 7 days. A run that began when I visited the fine city of Boston, Massachusetts last weekend, and will continue through this weekend as I am back home. NFL's all loaded up. By the time you hear this, every play will be loaded for Sunday. We're 6-0, our last 6 in the NFL, Joe, after that Patriots win last night. So head on over to my page, WT.buzz/BP, for all of this weekend's winners. Now, with Army and Harvard, I'm not sure you can call this a classic look ahead, Joe, but right now you have to think the focus in and around West Point is on the Navy football game tomorrow, right? And Harvard, exam week is coming up. I'm told those are very difficult tests, much tougher than DeVry, from what I understand. But here's the thing. Beating Army should be a lot easier than any of those exams, I think. Army, bottom 20 team in the country overall, third worst in KenPom in offensive efficiency. They scored 44 against Stonehill and lost by 13. That is very, very bad. If you're only scoring 44 against Stonehill, as Trigg went through, is one of the absolute worst teams in the country. Now, the Cadets are coming off a win against our old friends at Lemoyne, 68-51 as 3-point home favorites. So Army got one under their belt there. They shot a season best 34.5% from 3. We're 10 of 29 in that game from behind the arc. But I don't think they're going to replicate that here against Harvard, a respectable team. They scored 78, 80, and 80 in 3 home games thus far. Last time out, though, on the road against Loyola Chicago, worst offensive night of the year for the Crimson. 24.5% overall from the field. That's dreadful. 4 of 21 from 3. I don't know if they were distracted by Sister Jean or what there, but I think it's going to be a bounce back in a major way at home against Army. I know that Harvard's leading rebounder, he's out with injury, and Army plays slow. But Army, guys, is turning the ball over on 21% of their possessions. That is a horrifying figure. And even worse, their free throw shooting. They are not practicing free throws at West Point, Joe, because Army is, get this, shooting 52% from the line for the year. That is really, really bad. I don't know if I've ever seen a team collectively shoot that poor. This line has come down. I don't understand why. I say the home team, that's Harvard, wins by more than a dozen. Shows best bet.
Ooh. Big number, laying it with Harvard here today, taking on Army in that one. All right, so we've got a couple of big game breakdowns. We have a couple of best bets. We got one more for you here. Merrill is going to tackle for us. We're going to talk a little bit about Oakland taking on Eastern Michigan. This was 5, as high as 6. Now it looks like 5.5 somewhere in some spots here, Merrill. So what gives? I'm thinking Oakland or Eastern Michigan, possible bounce back. What are we doing here?
Yeah, a little battle of Michigan. This is not the Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas. This is Oakland University right outside of Detroit. Johnny Detroit's Oakland. Actually, it's not his Detroit University, because when they were founded in 1957, they were initially called Michigan State at Oakland or something along those lines. Michigan State University / Oakland. So it's actually a MSU spinoff, and they're playing Eastern Washington tonight. But this is an Oakland team. I think it's a better team, and it should be a focus spot since it's an in-state rival rather. And they're also, as you mentioned, Oakland's coming off back-to-back losses straight up in ATS. I think it's a good bounce-back spot. And this is an Oakland team that had won 4 in a row, and it covered every one of their first 8 games of the season. They were the best moneymaker in college basketball, starting 8-0 ATS. They're now 8-2 against the spread, and we'll continue to ride them here. Eastern Michigan plays extremely fast. Second year with that head coach there, Stan Heath, and they are not a good team once again. They were one of the worst teams in college basketball last season, and things don't look any better in the second year of the campaign. And when you have a really bad defense, you're playing fast. That allows a favorite on the road like Oakland to win by margin. and probably get to the double-digit range. Oakland also has a substantial edge of the free throw line. They shoot 72.5% from the charity stripe. Eastern Michigan barely shoots over 64%. So it all adds up, I think, to what could be a double-digit win. Definitely lay the 5.5. We have seen some sharp money push this up, and now we see -6s out there. But either way, I like Oakland University minus the 5.5 at 7 Eastern tonight in college hoops. And don't forget, we have been red hot, not in just college basketball, but also pro basketball. Number 1 in 2023, up over 132 units in the NBA. I've got a strong NBA best bet for Friday night. Also a big NFL card this Sunday. The last 3 Sundays, 10-2 combined on my NFL best bets at WagerTalk. And overall now 18-5 all sports run the last couple weeks. Not a bad time to try an all sports all access for the rest of 2023 and get it for just over $8 a day. No promo code needed. On my page right now, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
All right, good stuff there. I bet you Brian Powers got a degree from that Oakland of Michigan State University. Let's take a look here. Why not? He's got one from every school. We've got our friends from the Gold Sheet. They, too, have a best bet. And they've been crushing it here on the show over the last couple of weeks. And, of course, I would highly encourage guys to take a ride over to, take a ride, just type it in, goldsheet.com, and visit our friends there. Great, and I mean great data and information when it comes to college basketball, just a couple of clicks away. And they're going to look at that Ivy League school, too, the one that Brian Power wishes he had a degree from. That would be Harvard and Army, only they're not laying the points. They're taking as many points as humanly possible, and they seem to think there's going to be a lot of them. They are looking at the over. Now, this opened up 133.5. It's been pushed up, but our friends at the Gold Sheet believe a lot of room for positive regression for Army's offense. They also believe the Harvard offense, well, they're averaging nearly, 80 points a game at home, and they're just about 39% from three-point range, that being Harvard. When you put it all together, might be a little too low here tonight. And our friends from the Gold Sheet, they like the over in Harvard and Army. And since nobody else will say it, I will. University of Chicago there. Give me the Flames tonight. Sorry, Gamecocks. Not buying it here tonight. And there it is, guys, huh? Just threw it out there like that, BP. Did you see that? Threw it out there. No fuss, just threw it right out there. UIC, and I'm so glad I can't hear a word you're saying right now. It's fantastic. All right, that'll do it. So, the good news is we're done. Here's the recap. Boston College, -21 for Adam Trigger. Brian likes Harvard, laying the 12 here against Army. Merrill's going Oakland of Michigan, Detroit, Michigan State. A lot of names there, but 5.5, lay it right now. And our friends from the Gold Sheet like the over in the Harvard and Army game. And, of course, good news is we'll be back on Monday to start a whole new week of the college basketball tip-off show. But before then, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. Again, thank you for those joining us live here during the broadcast, those that are watching on replay. We've got a lot more content when it comes to college basketball, NBA, NHL, NFL. Bowl season is almost upon us, so all you have to do is click on that video on the screen right now and check out all the rest of the videos that we have for all the big games coming up this weekend. And until Monday, we appreciate it. Best of luck with all your plays. We'll see you again soon.